gives us the constitutional right to bear arms.
It also gives politicians something to fixate on so they can throw accusations against their opposition. KRCG 13's Katie Moeller talked to experts to learn which gun rights the Supreme Court says the Second Amendment actually guarantees to American citizens and which rights are not so clear.
I supported Second Amendment rights.
Political ads like to paint it as a black and white issue. You're either a candidate for the Second Amendment or you're not. The reality the day before the election, it's not so obvious. Columbia attorney Stephen Wise says there's a spectrum of Second Amendment interpretations. If a 1 is someone who believes that only the military and police should bear arms, then the other end, a 10.
They believe that you have an absolute right to carry anything that qualifies as small arms, whether it's a chain-fed machine gun or a grenade launcher.
Many interpret what the Constitution actually says as somewhere in the middle. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. At first, the court said bearing arms had to be all about keeping a well-regulated militia. But that all changed in the last decade. The Supreme Court ruled that it was unconstitutional for federal, state, and local government to ban handguns. In other words, you can bear arms for purposes other than just being in a well-regulated militia, like shooting at a shooting range.
I place the Supreme Court's rulings at a 6. The Supreme Court recognizes that there are some restrictions that can meet a compelling government interest and survive a strict scrutiny review.
That's the highest standard for any governmental restriction. Attorney Jennifer Bukowski says she doesn't believe many restrictions can truly measure up to that bar.
I mean, every time you have a mass shooting or a school shooting or something, they start throwing out things like, let's ban guns from people on the no-fly list. Well, the no-fly list, they have 4-year-olds that are on this that cannot get off that list.
It's the disagreement concerning what is or isn't a reasonable restriction where things start to get political.
Both of our governor candidates have A ratings by the NRA, which is a relief, but our Senate candidates, one has an F, one has an A, so I think that that's a big contrast.
The A-rated candidate, incumbent Republican Senator Roy Blunt. The F-rated candidate, Jason Kander, Democratic challenger. Weiss says simply asking the question of what is a reasonable restriction shouldn't count as betraying the Second Amendment.
I think I would put Mr. Kander at probably a 6 with his votes on a scale of 1 to 10.
With the next president appointing up to 4 Supreme Court justices and the Senate approving any nominations, both Bukowski and Weiss agreed tomorrow's election will be a defining moment for the right to bear arms. In mid-Missouri, Katie Moeller, KRCG 13.
For a timeline of the Supreme Court's major Second Amendment decisions, log on to krcgtv.com, click on the Campaign 2016 button. You also will find a voter guide for candidates and ballot measures there as well.